What really engages students, episode 634. Stay tuned at the end of the show to learn how you can get my personal planner pages and productivity system called Do What Matters.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
So today we're talking with my friend Heather Wolpert-Gawron. She is author of Just Ask Us, Kids Speak Out on Student Engagement. So Heather, tell us a little bit about the research that you did for this book.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It was actually a really fun universe to be in for a while. We all read a lot about evidence-based strategies that are geared towards student engagement, but I really wanted to hear from the students themselves and want to see, do they really know what engages them? So I started sending out surveys in every platform imaginable to every teacher that would send it out. So basically, I conducted this nationwide survey of 6th through 12th graders, and I asked them, what engages you as a learner? We've all done research in evidence-based strategies that academics have done along student engagement and student achievement, but I wanted to hear from the kids themselves. And I ended up hearing from students in every model of school in every state in our country, and it was just really exciting to hear their passion and their eloquence. And sure enough, they know what engages them.
Yeah.
Nothing really came as a real shock as much as to hear their awareness. The things that we think we're doing as educators that are these kind of invisible strings, they're not so invisible to our students. They actually know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they know when we're not using those strings and we're not trying to think of their engagement as well as the content that we're teaching. And that was a huge wake-up call.
So what really works?
Let's see. It's everything from technology and using visuals to authenticity and project-based learning. They're starting to use those terms, and I heard it a lot. Make it meaningful. One of the things I found very interesting was time and again, they were saying, make it new, make it fresh. And that one kind of led me down a rabbit hole of research because to me, it was obvious, well, every year they learn new things. But once I did my research, depending on the state that they were in, 20 to 50% of what students are learning is repetitive, not just spiraled and deeper, which is kind of what we want, but literally repetitive, not just in the content, but also in the format. So let me give you an example. Let's say a school goes to a training in doing flip books. Well, flip books are really visual, they summarize, they're fantastic. But if every single teacher has had that training, now you've got flip books happening all over the place and it causes disengagement. So it's stuff we have to be aware of in our own vertical articulation.
Well, variety is the spice of life, but it sounds like it's the spice of learning too.
Absolutely. And they know it. They already know it.
Well, that's why, I like to encourage teachers to each be unique and different and passionate about their topics, just so that they have this variety and don't have this boredom. Just like we don't want to eat the same thing every single day for the rest of our lives, we want to learn differently.
I would also say that when we talk about just the wellness of our students and knowing them, because that's another thing that they mentioned, is just having their teachers be human, to share their growth areas and to share stories of how they themselves learned. I think as a leader in a school, you have to be very aware that your hiring practices and even your professional development is geared to allow for individuality in the teaching staff as well. Because we have so many different students, they need to be able to have adults on campus that they can relate to.
So Heather, it sounds like they told you some things that didn't work, like we don't like the monotony of everybody doing exactly the same thing. Are there some other things they loudly said this doesn't work?
Choosing just one strategy. If you're a teacher that only loves a particular strategy that you have seen work in the past, that doesn't mean you should be utilizing that strategy 90% of your time. They really do want it mixed up. They are very aware that if you are always using technology, for instance, which Vicki, you and I, we love our technology. We value how we can use technology as a tool for the larger pedagogies. But if a teacher is just using technology and that may not be the right tool for what needs to be done, they should be editing themselves in terms of what they are using. Use what works, but use what's going to be most effective.
Yes, and mix it up. I mean, intentionally just mix it up and, surprise them.
We need to have lots of tools in our tool belt, and it's really hard. I really think there should be a national standard that isn't just about, or national standards, not just about our content standards and our subject areas, but on engagement standards. Like, how do we help teachers develop that toolbox so that they've got different strategies they can whip out at any time? Because it is about differentiation, and student choice came up over and over and over again. And how does a teacher become comfortable giving that power over to the students? And unless you've really experienced how powerful that can be, it can be scary.
And there's such another side to this, because of course we want students to be engaged, but do students want to be held accountable? What kind of standards do they have for themselves?
Mm-hmm. But until we kind of start talking about what those strategies are, we can't create either physical or mental rubrics to set expectations. Like, if we are going to allow students to choose or use inquiry to kind of guide their learning, as we do with project-based learning, then, if we're not going to be able to give that to them, how are we going to be able to set expectations of what a good choice is and a weaker choice is? It kind of has to be a part of the universe that we're teaching in.
So you're saying that we're not ready to hold students accountable in that way? I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding you.
Oh, I totally understand. No. I think that we are able to do so once we start the dialogue. But if we are a class or a school site or a district that is tentative about something like student choice or letting them to collaborate, right? Letting them work together. If we continue to be tentative about that, how can we set clear expectations, and how can we allow students to really exercise those muscles that they're going to have to use beyond school, right? It's Alfie Cohen that says the only way we're going to teach students how to make decisions is by giving them choices. I probably just totally slaughtered that quote, but something like that. We've got to give them choices, and we have to give them the ability to make those decisions. It starts with our comfort, I think.
Well, and we have to remember that what we're teaching is more than they remember a certain percentage of a certain content. There are collaborative abilities, just life skills, emotional abilities. I mean, there's just so many things beyond just what the score is on a test.
I totally agree. Yep.
That this is a much more complex issue than I guess it could seem.
I totally agree. And I would also argue that if the focus is to prepare them for tests, you still need to engage. So if your focus is on those student achievement numbers and data, you still have to focus on engagement. And if you are really thinking about how do we prepare them for life beyond school, you still have to focus on engagement, almost more so than content. Google handles content. The kids know how to find the facts. We have to teach them how to use their hearts and their brains.
Oh, to understand and relate. So the book is Just Ask Us from Heather Wolpert-Gawron. I know that we could go a lot deeper into this. You learned a lot more than just this overview. But, if we want to know what students want so they can be engaged, we need to just ask them, don't we, Heather?
Absolutely. The book includes a survey you can ask your own students, but it's really as simple as opening up that door and hearing from their voices.
People always ask me how I get so much done. I mean, I'm a full-time teacher, mom, and of course this podcast and blog and lots of other exciting things in life. Well, some time ago when my daughter was home for the summer, I collected my 108 forms and templates and also compiled an ebook sharing the productivity system that I use. It's called Do What Matters. Now, you can't get it on Amazon or any place like that, but you can purchase it directly from me because it includes not only the book, but the Excel templates and the PDFs. Go to coolcatteacher.com/planner. It costs $9.95. It includes a 72-page ebook, 108 pages in Excel templates, and 108 PDF copies of my planner pages. You can customize these and make them your own. That's what I do. I don't buy my planner pages from anybody else. I have made my own for years now, and it's part of my own system of productivity. So I hope you can start doing what matters. Check it out at coolcatteacher.com/planner.